Bliska. I'm a musician based in Los Angeles, and I love to do everything from performance, sound design, composing, production, kind of everything across the board. And my background is really in jazz and Black American music, got really into electronic music. Toured a lot. I toured with Jacob Collier, Karol G. Right now I work with Maggie Rogers. I'm also co-music director, so it's nice because I get to play, get to do a lot of sound design, a lot of arranging, a lot of programming, kind of tickle all the parts of my nerdy brain. So I was so excited that Nord asked me to make a signature sound bank. I have been such a fan of, all the sound capabilities of the Nord for so long, but also as a Nord Stage 1 user and then as a Nord Stage 3 user, downloading other artists' sound banks and sort of studying how they made them was such an educational experience for me to learn, okay, how does Julian Pollock make his sounds? How does Nick Semrad make his sounds? So for me, I had such a great time, both kind of trying to create my sonic world and palette on this instrument, and also just discovering what's new about it, because obviously there have been so many changes from the 3 to the 4. It sounds freaking amazing. The expanded effects section is really cool. The synth engine is totally different. So it's sort of this combined process of me trying to put my personality into this instrument and bring all the sorts of things that I would like to do generally to this specifically, but then also listening to it and being oh, I didn't know I could do something like that, but it's possible now. So kind of pushing and pulling with the instrument to see what I could get out of it that felt authentic to me and just felt fun to play with. The sounds that I created kind of span a bunch of different genres, really the things that I like to play most. So I love pop, I love R&B, I love hip hop, I love ambient, electronic, kind of all those things mixed together. And the thing that I also love about it is a lot of the sounds I've made kind of have these signature moves, whether it's a type of, automation assign or modulation assign. I think a lot of people think of Nord as an acoustic emulator, so really great organs, which is true, really great pianos, electric pianos, also true. I think especially on the 4, the synth and effects side of things is really, really amazing, and there are things that I would probably do on the 4 that historically I might not have thought were possible, but I think with the new synth engine, this is actually a keyboard for people who are really into electronic music, really into synth sound design, more than just kind of your typical maybe pop R&B palette that I think people associate Nord with. So this first sound I made basically takes advantage of the new synth engine. It has a bunch of arpeggiated layers, makes use of the hold function, also has kind of a noisy hat layer that I've assigned to kind of open up on the mod wheel. There's also an organ layer that's got this cool pump effect, sort of like a faux sidechain. So it's sort of inspired by Nils Frahm, that kind of vibe, and it sounds a bit like this. So this one is a classic brass synth. I feel like that's the kind of sound that I'm constantly needing, whether on a gig, on a record, just something that you sort of have in your toolbox. And I went ahead and added a few layers. There's sort of a mod wheel that opens up the filter a bit and adds an upper octave. On the control pedal, I added some organic grit, kind of in terms of a clav, as well as a bit of organ. So it's got clav and organ underneath, a brass synth with some upper harmonic layers. It sounds a bit like this. So this sound also takes advantage of some of the really cool synth features. It's got a saw pad that makes use of the hold function, so you can kind of free up your hands after playing a chord to do some other crazy stuff. And beneath it, it's got a couple different arpeggiated layers that come in on the control pedal. So it sounds a bit like this. So this sound takes advantage of one of my favorite sounds from the Nord piano library, and that's the felt upright. It's just such a beautiful instrument. I find myself playing it all the time, and I love to make sort of ethereal fairy kind of music. So for this patch, I've got the felt upright with another felt upright an octave up. That's got a bunch of fun delay going on, and then a bunch of synth layers kind of creating these little twinkly critters that come in on the mod wheel. Another thing I've done, which is one of my favorite tricks of the trade, is for the delay, I put it in analog mode, and I assign the time of the delay to the control pedal so you can manipulate it as you're playing and create these sort of like weird cascades of delay critters. And one more fun thing that I did in this patch is I assigned the aftertouch to essentially send the piano to more drive. So it kind of creates this swell that you can hear if you really press down on the keys, and it sounds a bit like this. So this next patch is something I like to always have kind of at my disposal. It's a Wannabe guitar patch, so just a shredding synth sound. I feel like we all get guitar envy sometimes. Just want to have a really ripping synth lead so you can compete with the shredders on your gig. So yeah, this one's a nice saw lead. It's got a bit of kind of extra grit and high frequency information that comes in with the mod wheel. And yeah, it sounds a bit like this. Okay, so this next patch brings in a new texture that I really wanted to incorporate into my bank. It's something that I haven't seen on the Nord before, and it's something that I always think about or miss when I'm not playing an acoustic instrument, and that's a muted piano sound. So this particular patch includes both like a finger muted upright piano sample as well as a prepared piano sample where there was paper placed behind the strings. So in this patch, I've got the bass layer is just a muted piano sample with a little bit of processing. And then there's two arpeggiated layers that come in underneath using the control pedal. Those are the prepared piano, the paper piano. And then I also have an organ layer doing some sort of sidechain business on the mod wheel, tempo mapped with the arpeggiated layers. And in general for my patches, maybe worth mentioning, I did keep everything clock synced just because it's easy if you're like jamming and you want to tap into tempo with someone, or if you wanted to set it manually. I find it's helpful to have things synced to some kind of clock just so you can be really playful on the fly. But this patch sounds a bit like this. So this patch is something that, I don't know, I just kind of heard it in my head and I really wanted to create it. It's essentially a choir sample layered with an organ, and there's a pitch envelope happening, and you can increase the amount of pitch envelope by pressing down on the control pedal. So you kind of get this like big swoop. I called it choir swoop because it's literally just like this like speeding up of a choir kind of sound. I also added kind of like a little ethereal twinkly layer on top that comes in addition to the organ with the mod wheel. And then the last thing that I love about this patch, which I did for a few different patches, is I assigned the middle pedal in my Nord triple pedal to the pump function. So that's kind of like a sidechain, a manual sidechain switch, which I honestly didn't. It's like they went inside my brain and made something that I just really wanted, because I love sidechain. As a producer, I'm always using sidechain. Sounds a bit like this. So those are just a few of the sounds in my bank. I'm so excited for you guys to check this out. Have such a great time. I really hope you enjoy it, and yeah, have fun exploring.